You think the problem is that she stopped wanting sex. The problem is she stopped feeling connected. And no amount of trying harder in the bedroom fixes something that broke everywhere else first. I'm Alessandro and this is Shut the Fuck Up and Listen. It's the podcast for men who are done with boy patterns and ready to take radical responsibility and want to become the husband and man that their family actually needs. Today I sit down with Stephanie Ganowski, a sexologist who coaches men on the stuff most people won't say out loud. You'll learn why sex comes from connection and not the other way around, and what it takes to stop needing it. Because the man who wants it instead of needs it is the man who's actually in control of himself. And you'll hear the one question you're too scared to ask her in bed, and why her worst answer is the best thing that can happen to you. Stick around until the end. Stephanie tells a story of a client whose performance issues were absolutely wrecking him, and the strange thing he found about his own body that fixed it. Most men would never even think to try it. Welcome to the podcast, Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you, Alessandro.
I am very excited. You're the first sexologist I've ever had on the podcast. And, it's actually, I don't often talk to women on the podcast, but I feel like our conversation today is going to be really great because a lot of men that I talk to, obviously I coach a lot of men, I go through a lot of men, talk through with a lot of men in the men's circles that I run, sex becomes a pretty big topic. In fact, intimacy in general is a pretty big topic for men. How did you, it's great just for people to get context because, I want them to actually warm up to you as well in this. How did you understand or see that sex was something that you wanted to dive into in your life and specifically for men?
I studied psychology in college and I was just always fascinated by human behavior. And that led me to relationship coaching. I read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. So I decided to work with men at the time. I was like, I'm going to be a relationship coach. And I decided to work with men because I just didn't see men getting the same kind of support and encouragement when it came to the dating world or the relationship space, like on social media, that women were getting. It seemed so much easier to get help as a woman. And I didn't see a lot of women helping men either. So I was like, okay, I could be that person. And I also had been dealing with some issues, my own issues with men, where I was like, I don't want to be resentful of men. I don't want to be a man hater. I want to understand them and I want to have great relationships with men. So that was it was part personal and part just seeing a gap in the market for it. So that led me to relationship coaching men for 4 years. And then I had a post go viral that had to do with premature ejaculation. And then all these floods of DMs were coming in, can you help me with my erection? Can you help me with PE? Can you help me with DE? I didn't even know what that was at the time. And I was like, oh my God, okay, maybe I should figure out if I can study this. And I found a sexology school. So I went through that and then came right back and switched my niche. And I was like, this is so cool. This is the coolest topic ever because most people won't talk about it. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I'm interested in talking about the things that most people won't talk about because I think if we can't talk about things, then there's a little bit of bullshit around. We need to actually dispel that, When we just had a pre-conversation and, I have that with almost everyone we talk about because we've got to work out what we actually want to talk about. And something that really struck me about what you do is at the core of what you do is understanding yourself, right, for men. And I think that's something where we both align on. And understanding yourself. Where does understanding yourself come into play when it's talking about sex? And why is it important?
Was so important when it comes to sex because if you don't understand your own body, if you don't understand your needs, your own desires, you're going to feel a lot less comfortable communicating about that topic with someone else. Even your partner, because it's I don't even know what's going on with me. What would I even ask? Right. Or so what I encourage men to do is pay more attention, especially during masturbation, to sexually understand themselves, take away the porn. And I'm not totally against porn, but I always say there should be times when you're not relying on that. Right. So that you can understand, okay, what comes to my mind when I get most turned on? Do I ever take a moment to really think what thought about my partner really gets me going the most? And what excites me most sexually about being with her? And what's something that I would like to try with her? and just kind of fantasizing and getting curious. So there's that mental part of it with the fantasy. And then I also encourage guys to touch themselves differently too, because you get in a habit of doing it the same way for years maybe. And especially if you're dealing with issues like premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction or delayed ejaculation, it's most likely like you're keeping the problem alive by how you're thinking and how you're touching, you know? So what I tell them is like, switch up the touch. Let's see what kind of touch gets you more aroused. Like some guys if they pay more attention to the head, for instance, they may get aroused faster, and they never realize that because they're so used to just going fast and, you know, doing it one way. So I'll say like, slow down, speed up, try this angle, try to play music during it. See what comes up for you. Try to breathe heavier, maybe even grunt. Like, see if that helps your arousal. And what guys can find when they understand their body is, oh, wow, when I touch myself like this, I actually get more aroused. So if it's a guy with DE, he can bring that touch into sex with his woman. Mm-hmm. And if it's a guy struggling with PE, maybe he knows how to keep himself aroused, but that never really spikes. The arousal never spikes. It just keeps him turned on. So then he can bring that.
PE is premature ejaculation. What's DE?
Yeah. Sorry. Delayed ejaculation.
Delayed ejaculation. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
that's okay. Sorry, I'm so used to these terms. But basically just understanding like, okay, what keeps me aroused? What gets me more aroused? What shuts down my arousal? And you can learn this through masturbation. It's the most underrated tool, in my opinion, as a sexologist.
Interesting. So you opened up a whole bunch of things here. A whole bunch of things. And I think masturbation is something that I want to come back to on this point but I want to get to something that I see maybe as like, I'd like you to shed light from your perspective. Because one of the issues that I see with a lot of men, and this is what I deal with a lot, is men will go, okay, fine. Stephanie can tell me, great, I can, masturbate and I'll get closer to understanding myself. But my wife doesn't even want sex, right? What do I do in this sort of situation? Now, in my space, and what I tend to do is I actually tend to deal with, and I look at sex as like, interesting when I'm coaching it for a relationship that it's like a garden that you need to tend to the plants. And sometimes the fruit is not going to just come quickly, and you don't want to cut down the whole tree just because there's no fruit to that. But what would be your take for if men come to you and say, look, I can try to understand myself, but I don't, we're still not having sex? What would be your take on that?
Well, I think the reason why most partners are not having sex is because there's a lack of curiosity in each other. I think it gets to the point where he's feeling let down so many times, and rejected. So he gets to a point where he initiates less and less because of that. And she's maybe fine. He thinks she's totally fine without it. And I would say that most women aren't totally fine, just not, having it. This is usually the case where he wants it more than her. But it's like there's clearly something going on with her where she's feeling that disconnect of not wanting to be intimate with you, right?
If you're listening to the show, you're already asking the right question. How do I show up better? Maybe things feel harder than they should at home. Maybe something needs to shift, but you're just not sure where to start. Here's what I know. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You just never got the manual. Nobody teaches men how to be husbands. Nobody shows you how to navigate the hard conversations, regulate your emotions, or turn your marriage into an actual team. That's why I created Better Husband in 2-Minute Emails. It's one email every Saturday morning with one tool you can use that week. There's no therapy speak, no blame, just the skills that actually move the needle. 2 minutes, one Saturday morning, that's your entry point. Because 3 months of focused work beats 20 years repeating the same damn pattern. Links in the show notes. First email lands this Saturday.
She can't be perfectly happy in the relationship. I mean, she can, but most cases, she's not perfectly happy. I'm fine and I love you so much and we're so connected. Usually the sexual break comes from a disconnection in the relationship. So the only thing that brings you back together from that disconnection is curiosity, really trying to understand what's going on from your side. what's going on from my side? Like, how do I feel about our relationship right now? How have I been showing up as a man? And then I can, bring that into conversation with her and ask her what she thinks about our relationship. And I think that's like a good first question when a guy is confused about his sex life and he's feeling rejected and distant and just feels like, I just want to throw my hands up in the air and wait until I get lucky. Instead of just waiting for that, it's having the awareness to be like, all right, she's not completely connected to me either. She can't be happy in that position. So let me understand how she feels about our relationship. And that question of like, hey, how have you been feeling about our marriage lately? Can you be honest with me and just share that? And I think that's a good place to start, because a lot of guys want to start with the sex questions when they're not having sex. And if you're not having enough just questions about the relationship and learning where each other stands in your connection on an everyday basis, like a daily, day-to-day interactions, that's the place to start. Otherwise, you're jumping from 0 to 100, and it's overwhelming.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. So a lot of my work there is very much based on how we can actually get that connection going. Also translating, the unmet needs of women for men. Like women don't necessarily want to have sex if they feel like their partner, or they look at their partner like he's got boy behaviors, and to some degree it's like, oh, like, I actually want you to initiate. I want you to follow through with what you say. I want you to do these things. And the unfortunate thing that I see with a lot of men is then they just go, yeah, but you're not giving me sex, so I'm not doing that. And I think that's the dangerous loop to be in. So I feel like, when it gets into tit for tat, it's really, really tough. But there's something about a mindset that I'd love to ask you about and get your take on it. One thing that I talk to men a lot about is the danger of looking at sex as just release. Have you come across that? What's your take on that? Is there anything in your world? Because I don't know if that's even a term. I just notice it. I notice when men just when they just look at sex as a way to get off, I find that can be something that really hurts the relationship.
Yeah, it certainly can. This isn't something I hear a ton, but I can witness it in certain men who I speak to and tell me their stories. And I would say that I believe a lot of men fall into this mental trap because they go in thinking about sex as a performance to begin with. And when there's this constant attachment to, I have to perform, even when things are good, I have to perform. Like, that's how a lot of guys look at it. Like, it's not about like, I want to connect with her and have fun and like, oh, this is going to be great. I want to see what she's into. Like, there's a lot of guys who focus on, I just need to perform and then I'll be good. So it's almost like even when it's good, it has that kind of mentality that puts a lot of pressure on them and pressure on the relationship that isn't very sexually freeing and relaxing. That's why so many problems come up in men, performance-wise. But it's like if they went in really understanding that sex comes from connection, like sex is not just a form of connection, like sex comes from connection. So if connection's not present, sex is most likely not going to be present. And if sex is present, it's not going to be very great sex, because it's going to be that kind of sex where she's like, okay, fine, it's your birthday, let's just get it over with, right? And it's like, you don't want that kind of sex either. So when a guy gets so just continues associating sex with performing, then it becomes this thing that like he just needs to do. And he kind of he loses her from the experience. He's not really thinking of her as part of it. And I think that's why he gets in this trap of it, him thinking of it like that, and then her feeling like he's so selfish and she's feeling used. Like, there's a lot of women who say like, I feel like a sex doll because the only time you touch me is when you're trying to initiate something sexual. And that is the worst feeling. Like, as a woman, it's really sad to just feel like the only form of touch that comes from your man is to want something, to get something, not to share something, but to get. It's an energy. It's a very different energy. And I empathize with guys because I think a lot of women, when women are frustrated time and time again about maybe the same thing, and she feels like he's not listening, she can get more frustrated, which may lead to like criticism, and then it shuts him down, and then he's like, all right, fuck it, like I just want sex. I don't want to deal with the emotional stuff. I just want my needs met. And then it turns into this back and forth selfishness. And when it comes to the point of being tit for tat, like we mentioned, something that I always tell my clients is you only win if you both win. Like there's no right or wrong. There's no you win or she wins. Who's going to win this argument? Who's right? You know, whenever you get into that mindset, you're almost always disconnecting more instead of coming toward each other, which is what's going to save your relationship and your sex life. And you're going to be happier and feel better when you think like that. Like, remember you're on the same team and you only win if you both win. Like, you guys are a team. So it's about thinking that way and acting like it.
No, it's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I love the line that you said, was it that, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like sex doesn't create connection, it comes from connection?
Yeah, sex, I think a lot of guys think sex is a form of connection. They're like, oh, this is how I connect. But sex comes after connection.
So sex isn't a form of connection. Yeah.
It comes from connection.
It comes from. That's a beautiful line. And I think that's a great way to sum that up, because I think sex doesn't start at 9 p.m., right? When it's wanted. It starts throughout the whole relationship. It starts throughout the day. It starts through touch that is not just for the moment. Like I remember saying to one of my clients when he was like, yeah, but what about sex? What about sex, Alessandro? You know, I've done all these things for her, but what about sex? And I remember asking him a question, which was, I remember that it hit him in a way, but I said to him, like, when was the last time that you asked her what she liked in sex? And he was just like, I haven't. And I was like, well, in that case, like, I can imagine that what she might be hearing from you is not, you know, do I want sex? It's I want sex. I don't want to cheat. I don't want to use my hand. Want to try? And it's like that in and of itself is nothing about the partnership. That is not connection. That, as soon as it becomes that, it's about that it's just about getting the needs met, then it starts to sour. I'd love to ask you about needs met. How much of the needs met conversation is real versus not real?
Something I say that can trigger a lot of men, but the men who get it, is what would it take to not need sex? Like, what if you didn't need it? Like, what if you chose it? What if you wanted it? And what if you knew that the way that sex made you feel, you can get similar parts of it in different ways? Not like the same thing, but you can get parts of it. So you weren't putting all of this pressure on sex to feel connection, to feel accepted, to feel loved, to feel admired. I don't know. Like, I think men want to feel so much from their woman, and vulnerability can be difficult for men because a lot of them see it as a weakness. So it's like, if I say like, oh, if you did this for me, I would feel more loved. They're like, oh, I don't want to say that. I just want to have sex. And then they'll get all the feelings that they're craving from this one thing. But because they get everything they need relationally, or they're choosing to do this, to put it into sex, now sex is this, they need it. They actually do feel like they need it. Otherwise they won't survive. And it's like, okay, but let's understand, like, what are the different things that sex, you know, gives you? What do you feel like when you're having sex? And if it's fulfillment, you can find fulfillment in, and this isn't sexual, but like joining a men's group and like feeling powerful and fulfillment, right? If it's connection, there's also brotherhood for that. There's connecting with your wife in a way where you're collaborating together and working on a project together. I don't know, or like connecting on a date night. If it's energy, it can be purpose through work. It can be a bunch of different things. Yeah, it could be so many different things.
Yeah,
love. You can feel love from your children. You can feel love, you know, from your wife, and give love to your wife without sex being involved. And it's like, okay, how would you do that? How would you show connection, fulfillment, love in ways that aren't just sexual, but like, how do you express that and ask for that in different ways? And I think once they have a variety of ways to feel filled as a man, like feel like, okay, I feel good about myself, I feel good about my life and what I'm sharing and what I'm receiving, then sex won't have so much power over them. And I think a lot of resentment builds in the partnership because sex becomes this powerful, controlling thing over men because they need to feel whole. They need to have it to feel whole. And if she's in control of him having that, now she rules his whole life. And if she says no, he builds resentment. So it's like the whole idea of needing it's like we need the unattachment.
I'm big on that. Like as soon as somebody says I need something, I tend to smell the bullshit that I was talking about earlier. Like I start going, what are you making it mean? Like where has the importance on this thing come up for you? Because I can say this. I can say, well, look, I need it to feel calm. I need it to feel accepted. I need it to feel good in my body. I need it to feel like I have confidence. Am I talking about sex? Maybe I'm even talking about alcohol. Maybe I'm talking about drugs. Maybe I'm talking about anything. I can talk about anything and say that I need it for this and I need it for that and I need it for that. It's the meaning we attribute on something. And the why is not necessarily every man's fault, right? Because why comes in different situations. Like I see it even with sex. There's a lot of societal expectation even on men, you know, like I hear it a lot with women in terms of housework and what's expected of them. There's a lot of pressure on that sort of space. But I do believe in the men's space, if you say within a group of men, oh, I haven't had sex in 7 months, everyone looks around and goes, wow, what's been going on? Right? And so that is a societal pressure that gets put on them. And that makes the meaning. But to come back to my point, I believe that it's maybe not our fault that we feel this way, but it's definitely our responsibility to be more conscious, to be more aware, and to be more understanding of these patterns.
Yeah, 100%. It's just noticing it. It's being like, why does this control me so much? You know, what do I really think I need from this? And it's not to say that men should, this isn't me saying, oh, you don't need sex. Like it just never has to be. Like, obviously that's an important part of life. I mean, that's why I'm a sexologist too. I think it's an awesome, amazing part of life that people should embrace. And
you wouldn't be a sexologist if you said just don't have sex.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not the point. It's not just don't have sex. But it is letting men understand or making them more aware when they let go of the need and they're unattached and this sex does not control them anymore. This means she no longer controls his emotional state. And you know how much more powerful a man is going to feel when he's no longer controlled by that? And how much more attractive he will come across to her when he lets go of that control and he's at peace with not needing, but choosing and wanting. Like that's a very different energy, like I said. And she's
very different energy.
Notice that too.
You were 100% right with this this line I think that you said just before. It's just like not necessarily the question you said, not coming from needing it, but wanting it and choosing it. And actually, like that is a beautiful energy. And I think that's, you know, one of the major issues that I see in relationships. So I'm even going to talk to the men that are listening to this podcast right now. One of the major issues that I see in men is that they anchor themselves into they anchor their sense of self into their wife's emotions. And like whenever she's upset, they're like, oh, what did I do now?
What did I do?
And it's this, oh gosh. And the moment she's upset, he crumbles into a pile of something. And I know it because I've felt it. I've used to do this myself and recovering from anchoring into my wife's emotions. But sex is also like, that's a deeper level and that's a deeper anchoring, because if you have a societal expectation of like, if I'm not having sex, we're not a good couple. If I'm not having sex, I'm not a good man. If I'm not having sex, I'm not good enough. Like
not man enough. Yeah.
Not man enough. All of those. As soon as that is part of that anchoring, yes, this can be a really deep thing. And I think that creates a lot of that resentment, right? And straight away, it gets out of what you said. You only win if you both win. Then all of a sudden you're you versus me. It's like you're not giving me the sex, so you're saying I'm not man enough, so you're saying I'm not good enough, which is not necessarily the case.
Exactly. And I love the point that you brought up where you mentioned like when you asked your client, have you asked her if she's enjoying the sex or like what she enjoys about the sex you have? And that's something that would open up so many amazing conversations for men sexually, but like I said, I think the vulnerability of it requires courage. You know, like you have to be a courageous man to not have a great sex life and then ask your woman, are you enjoying it? Just point blank. Are you enjoying our sex? And not try to cover it up with anything else, but just like straight up, are you enjoying it? Because that leaves him open for her to say, no, I'm not. And I never orgasm, right? Which is not what he wants to hear. So a lot of men will avoid that conversation, which would actually be so great if he leaned into it, because it would actually understand where she's coming from. And what I tell men is like, it's a good thing if you get an answer where she says, no, I'm not enjoying it because I never orgasm. Like a lot of guys will be like, okay. And then they just walk away from that conversation. I'm like, okay, go back. Like, let's understand, like, this is good. This isn't bad, you know? And guys will just be like, I got a bad response. Therefore, this is a bad conversation. And I'm like, no.
Also, therefore, I'm bad, full stop. Like, that's such a binary fixed mindset of like, just because I had one bad response, there's no question of how can I improve this? How can I make better of this? It is like a judgment of character. And I think sex is one of those areas, correct me if I'm wrong, it's one of those areas that I think we become the most fixed within a fixed mindset of like, I'm just not good at that. And I think that's also bullshit. It's like there's levels to grow here.
Yeah. Yeah. And sex can be so different. Like, there's not one way to do it right. You know, it's like, how are you connecting with that person in that moment? And what are you consistently paying attention to and focusing on while you're doing it? But what makes that conversation so great for her to even say, like, no, I'm not enjoying it, is she was honest. Like, a lot of women aren't even honest. So, like, when you get honesty, even if it's bad, now you get to fix it. Like, now it makes sense why you're not having sex. It would actually be worse if you didn't have a good sex life and she never wanted to have sex. And then when you asked, do you enjoy it? She said, yes. That would be worse, because now you're like, all right, well, none of this makes sense now. I'm going to have to dig more. Like, she's not being honest, obviously. She's not opening up. But when you have a woman who's like, no, I never have an orgasm. Yes, she may come across frustrated, but it's like, it's your responsibility to ask, okay, like, do you know what makes you orgasm? Or have I ever made you orgasm? You know, and like lean into understanding so that you can understand what she's actually looking for and what will make her crave sex, which is going to fix the issue.
Yeah. What is your take on, you know, because there are definitely times where women are not going to want sex, and it has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with him. Like, you know, we're talking moments like postpartum where they're literally healing from a fucking wound in their body, which is something that, you know, men don't even understand how fucking, like, big that moment is in a woman's life. And yet, you know, men want sex straight away. Or let's say that, you know, at certain different periods where there's high stress, and stress for women means low safety. Low safety is no opening up whatsoever, right? So what would you say to men when they're, I'm not going to even use the word confronted, but like they're in a situation where their wife doesn't want sex? What do you usually say to them?
So this is a situation where it's a special moment where it would make sense why she wouldn't want it, or it's just random, like sometimes she doesn't want it, but it's not a consistent rejection?
Yeah, or like maybe is there, like, if let's say there's just a moment where she would have wanted it and now she doesn't, or it happens. Like, I mean, maybe the conversation's actually even better around consent or around like yeses and nos. Like, I think that's maybe where a little bit I'm kind of asking here, because the one thing I think I want to get at is understanding your wife. That's kind of the point that I want to get to, is just understanding your wife and understanding what she's going through. Yeah, I'd love to see if you've got any takes on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the examples you gave, the first one, in a situation where she used to want sex at a certain time, but now all of a sudden she doesn't, instead of making that mean something about you, just get curious and ask, hey, I feel like you always were turned on by this in the past, like for so many years. And this is always something you seem to really enjoy and get turned on by. And we would usually have fun after this and have sex. And I'm just wondering, like, did something change? Are you not that into this anymore? And it's just like, you know, you could just open up a dialogue like, hey, I'm curious why this used to be something that led here and now it's not. And it's not like you're in this defensive place. You're just genuinely just trying to have a conversation with your wife to understand what changed here. Because I think something important is also recognizing that people change sexually over time. And I mean, I think women especially, like our bodies change so often at different phases of the month, different phases of life. And those different phases might, like, pleasure is going to come in different forms. And something that we used to get turned on by or felt really physically good in the past for us that we were really into may not be something that we want anymore, not because of him, but just because of, oh, like, I don't really feel that way about that anymore. Like, my body doesn't like that anymore. And it's just like being okay to understand this, like understand it, and it takes the pressure off you. I think for a second example, like a postpartum situation, the best, like, I would say it's good for men to be honest about where they're at and just say, oh, I was craving you earlier, and I just want you to know, like, but I understand where you're at, and I want to be the most supportive guy for you right now, partner for you. And yeah, I just want you to know I love you and I still desire you, but I want to support you right now. Like, am I doing what I can do for you? And it's just like being able to vocalize and just share, I desire you right now, but I also understand what you're going through. And by the way, how can I support you better?
And not taking it fucking personally if she's going to throw it back and say, ugh, how could you fucking do that right now? Because I don't feel like it.
Yeah, she might. You know? Yeah.
She might. And I think that's interesting thing about all of this, even in these conversations, because I know a lot of men will be like, but Alessandro, I have had that conversation and she shuts me down. And then, then I shut down because she shut down. And I don't know, I see what you think of this, but for me, I really believe when we're in these difficult conversations, it's understanding that the other person has just as much fear, shame, trauma, all of this shit, just like you do. You both are like a bundle of trauma and all these lots of little things that you've got going on in your life. And yes, you're going to be triggered by all these different things. But if you don't forget that you're on the same team and that you just want to work towards something together, and even if one person shuts the other person out, it's like there can be other factors in there as well. It's we're humans with all these different triggers. And
that's why I tell guys, like, she's going through shit too. If like whenever you feel like you're struggling in the relationship, she's struggling too. Like, you guys are on the same team. So if you're not working together and you're not strong together, you're apart and you're struggling because you're always stronger together, So I think a lot of men think, oh, she's happy and she's fine with everything, and I'm the one, and they can feel like just because they're not getting sex and she's in control of that means she's perfectly happy and content in the relationship. And that's often not the case.
Yeah, for sure. One of the biggest things that I want men to do, and I think even below everything, if I even had to define what being a better husband was and I had to put it into a sentence, it would be to be conscious of your behavior, to be conscious. And so I would love to hear from you. You spoke about masturbation actually being one of the best tools for men to understand themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Tell us about how somebody who for the first time, because I can tell you right now, I read this in No More Mr. Nice Guy years ago, and there was that line about, you should learn how to pleasure yourself with no fantasy and no porn. And that confronted me like a motherfucker. I just was like, I have to do what while looking at myself in the mirror? I can't. So let's imagine husbands are listening to this, because I don't talk about sex often on the podcast. Let's say husbands are in that position where even hearing me say that right now might be like making them tense up. What would you say to them about getting started to understand themselves in masturbation? What would be like your little step-by-step plan for them?
I would say first, if you're watching porn and you feel like you need it every time, what I do with clients is like give yourself permission for, if it's 7 days a week, give yourself permission for 4 days a week. And slowly cut it by not shaming yourself, but just saying, I'm choosing this instead. And that's usually what helps them get to focusing more on themselves, is removing the distractions of porn, because they're not paying attention to themselves when that's there. And on those 4 days, when they choose themselves instead, they can, number one, change their thought from the porn to their partner, right? If you were to think of her and your ideal sex life with her, what would it look like? And start getting reacquainted with what that feels like in your body. Like, to think about that. Even if you're not having sex, like, think about, like, what is the ideal? What is the vision for your sex life? Like, what would turn you on about you and your partner? And really, like, have the imagery of how you're showing up. Like, how confident do you look in this image? Like, what are you doing? How are you touching her? Is everything fast? Is it slowed down? Is it passionate? You know, what does it look like to be connected and maybe laughing at certain things because something happens in the middle of it, but it's still really sexy and she's looking at you a certain way. Like, really get familiar and create that image so you can start having some point of, like, this is what great sex would be for me. You know, because a lot of guys don't even know, like, what great sex means to them. So it's like getting familiar with that and letting your body get turned on by that. Because the more you know that visual, the more likely you're actually going to try those things when you're actually having sex. And the more you believe it's possible because you're actually feeling into it. And then I would say, touch yourself slower. Because a lot of guys are rushing through the whole thing. Like, it's just, I forget the term, but yeah, just mindlessly jerking off, basically. And instead of doing it mindlessly, like, go slower up and down from the very top of the head all the way down shaft. Very top, maybe do a little squeeze, a little twist, hold, go down, like, slow it down and introduce your body to a touch that you're just not used to giving yourself. And when you slow down and you're touching yourself differently, you may notice, like, a lot of guys notice with me, they're like, wow, my head, when I pay attention to the head, I get so much more turned on. And usually I'm just jerking off the shaft. But, like, I didn't realize how sensitive my head was when I just cup it and just, like, twist a little bit. Like, they just find something where they're like, whoa. And then that guy may bring that experience into sex with his wife and have some shallow penetration where it's just mainly the head, and he knows what gets him really turned on is that movement. So it's like, when you're going slow and you're touching different parts, you're touching your balls, right? Like, you're maybe, like, light scratching. Some guys like that. Some other guys are like, no way. Like, you know, some squeezes, some guys, like, I tell guys to also touch your body. I know this may feel cringe or, like, weird, but really, you're by yourself. No one's going to know, you know, just, like, scratch your thighs, like, see if that feels good in the moment when your body's aroused. Like, and then when you're with her, you could tell her, scratch my thighs. You know, it's like, you're actually learning what type of touch gets you more aroused and what part of your body you haven't been paying attention to basically your whole life.
It's very interesting that you say, I mean, I'd love to continue that just for a moment. Like, my experience of women and in everything that I've learned from women, they're a lot more in tune with the touch and the feelings themselves. You know, it's a lot more like, oh, can you massage me before? And men just go, oh, fuck, do I have to? Right. And, yeah. But that's a woman who's actually in touch with how she wants to feel. Right. But for some reason, men just feel like, well, look, I can get aroused quickly. So that should just be the way that I do it. But what's interesting about what you're saying and what I'm hearing is just this understanding of your body will also help you understand that sex doesn't have to be just so quick and mindless. It can be a conscious thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's because you're paying attention, you're learning what feels best for you, and then you're using that information to feel good with your partner, to strengthen your relationship and your connection. And there's also, like, a cool story of a client of mine who struggled with PE really, really bad. Like, within seconds, he would come, and it was really frustrating for him. And what I had him do is an exercise where he touched different parts of his body to see if there was any way he can stay aroused but slow down, like let go of his dick and just touch his body and see what happened. And I forget exactly how I how I gave him the exercise, but it turned out when he would squeeze his nipples, he bought time, like a lot of time. So now then that became his thing that he was able to do with her. He just would do like a pinch, like when he thought he was getting close, and it bought him like a good amount of time. So he was like, whoa, like I would have never figured that out. So there's just like ways where it's like, there's so many different tactics and things you can do to overcome performance issues, and they all stem from understanding how your body works and what you feel and how you can navigate touch or thought to slow down your arousal or to speed it up, and overall, like, I mean, when you do that and you know yourself really well, there's this trust in your body, because you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about what's going to happen. I know how to navigate this. I know how my body will respond. If I lose my erection, I'm going to jerk off like this, then ask for a blowjob. It'll come right back, right? They start like having this idea of like, I'll know how to figure it out. And when there's that, I know and I trust, then it's not so much about the performance anymore. Like they can relax and they can be with her. And it becomes this thing where they're with her again, instead of just trying to be perfect and perform perfect and hope that everything goes great, because they know it will go great because they figured themselves out.
Yeah, really beautiful. Beautiful. And you've put this all into an app, right?
Yes.
Okay,
An app called Ronin.
Ronin?
Yes.
Why Ronin?
Ronin. I wanted a masculine name that rolled off the tongue, and yeah, Ronin was what came up. So I like it.
Okay. So
I was like, it's smooth, it's masculine.
So what happens on Ronin?
So on Ronin, the focus of Ronin is to help guys understand that you can train your arousal. Like you can train yourself to have the sex life you want through masturbation. And Ronin speaks to men who are struggling. There's 5 categories. So men going through 5 different sex issues or concerns that are premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, too much porn reliance, and sex confidence, just wanting to feel more confident sexually. So if you're a guy struggling with any of those challenges right now, what you do is you pick your category in Ronin, and then you'd be presented with meditations that help you, like I'm talking about today, like understand your body in the based on the situation you're in, and give you some exercises, like masturbation exercises, and be guided through those so that you know what it would take for you to get to having a great sex life and overcome these issues.
Yeah, really good. That's really good. Why meditations?
Because of what you just said about feeling like men often think their way through sex when really you have to feel your way through it. And women can be better at feeling through it and really moving slower and embracing the feelings. And men overthink things. So I know that when men overthink things, their nervous system gets activated, and that doesn't help them relax. And if you can't relax, you can't get aroused the way you want. And if you can't get aroused, you're not going to get hard and you're going to struggle with some things. So meditation is that way to relax the nervous system and train men to remain calm and learn that sex is about being relaxed. Sex is about being calm and like trusting your body. And yeah, I just think meditation is the best way to teach men something that they haven't been doing or really training for sex.
For sure. It's so funny because even I use meditation quite a lot, like to work out the state of the relationship, to work out even where men want to be in the future. I think meditation is one of the most powerful tools. And I think, I think you're creating something really beautiful here. I'd love to, we're going to end up pretty soon. So I'd love to know if there's anything we haven't covered today on the podcast that you'd like to share, or let's go with that. Anything you'd like to share that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I would love to know from your side of things. What do men tell you? Like, how do men perceive being a better husband? Like, what's their idea of that? What do they want when they say, I want to be better? How would they describe that?
and work with me because their wives have told them I need you to be a better husband. And so they don't think that they need to be a better husband. They just like, for fuck's sake, this fucking guy on social media, I've seen his videos a million times because my wife sent them to me 17 times. I may as well buy it and show up and see if I am a better husband or not. So there's that. There's also another category of men.
Wait, how does that go? Can we talk about them for a second?
Yeah, sure. It actually goes well, weirdly enough. Like it gets confronting at first. Like there's a confrontation, but like I think one thing that people need to get clear about me is I don't, and they get it straight away when they coach, when they hear me coach. It's like, I'm not advocating for men to drop down on their hands and knees and just go, my wife is correct. It's to actually become conscious within their lives. And the thing is, the reason why their wife thinks they're a bad husband in the first place is because they have become unconscious and passive. And again, I don't believe it's your fault. I do believe it's your responsibility because there's a load of things that have made you go passive. You might have literally just gone passive because, you learned that from your mother and that's the way that you deal with women. You might have done it because you want to be a nice guy and so you just give everything to her, but over time you actually just become kind of useless. And there might be a whole range of different reasons why you've gone passive, but, at some point it's like, what direction do you want your life to go in? And you need to work out if that's in the same, if that is actually in the same alignment with your wife. And if it's not, the answer is not to drop down on your hands and knees and go, I'm going to give it to my wife. It's actually get yourselves on a team or get the fuck out or grow the balls to go. But don't go halfway with your life. So I think men really do come along for the ride as soon as they see that that's my philosophy. It's not actually, just saying your wife's right. But then
not blaming.
It's not blaming. But then there's other point where, so men come to me knowing that they need to be a better husband because they've seen over and over again that there are inefficiencies that they have with maybe understanding what mental load is. So mental load becomes quite a huge thing within relationships, and mental load is statistically it's fucking there. Men really don't realize it, how big, the forward thinking and the family planning societally has been placed on women, and we just think it's not a big deal, but we've never had the feminine experience. So I think there's a huge category of men who actually realize, oh shit, I actually don't understand the feminine experience. I need to understand that. And for some reason, I got hit over a sledgehammer by my wife so often by it that I think I understand it and can translate at least some of it in some kind of way. And I'd say the final category of men that want to be a better husband have just lost their wife, or their wife is just checked out and wants a separation or a divorce. And they're like, what can I do? And I'm like, buddy, it's pretty fucking late, but so there's a range of different things.
Okay. So they don't even know, do they not know what a better husband means when they come to you? They're just like,
no fucking idea.
No idea.
They have no fucking idea. I would say that's the biggest issue is the fact that man is unaware.
Yeah.
He's completely unaware. He just I would say we live on some version of autopilot and we think that we're doing life well. And we just keep saying, but it'll be okay. Let me sweep this under the rug. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Let me sweep it under the rug. And all of a sudden, everything's not okay and the house is on fire. And they're just like, what do I do? Either my wife sent me to you, my wife's gone, or you look like a guy that can handle this and you know what you're doing. That's just it. But the house is on fire and they don't know how the house got on fire. So that seems to be
I'm always like, guys, don't wait this long.
Exactly.
The whole, I think men... Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That really is a mentality that sticks with a lot of guys.
It really sticks. It's like, keep the peace. Don't rock the boat. Keep the peace. Don't rock the boat. There's fucking 5 fires on the boat, but it's like, look, the boat can move. I think we're still fine. We don't need an oar. We don't need a sail. We got this. It's like,
I just made a YouTube video. I was like, rock the boat. Rock it so that you actually understand what's happening. Don't stay in this keep the peace place because you'll never get anything from that. It's just going to prolong the awkward tension that you're already living in.
Exactly. The best thing to do is to do things and do them badly so that you can actually have feedback as to what's good.
Yeah.
Good and
get
bad.
The feedback.
Yeah. Do something new in the bed. If we're going to bring this back to sex, do something new in the bedroom and realize, oh shit, it wasn't right. We're going to try something else. But at least it opens up a conversation. I think the worst thing that I see is just 20 years of autopilot, which leaves the quote unquote garden within the relationship completely dry. unwatered, and everything's dead. And that just comes from autopilot. Not a single person putting any effort in, or at least maybe even the wife feeling like she has to put in so much effort and he's just not done anything. And he just thought, but I thought we were okay.
Yeah. Or I thought it was fine the way I did it. You know, like or it's not that big of a deal. Those are the common ones that I hear that did not get positive reactions. But it sounds like you use men who are conscious the way that I use men are accountable. Like you're like, you need to be conscious. And like, I usually say you need to hold yourself accountable and take responsibility for your part. And I think that's why there's so many triggered people in our comment section sometimes, and that's what drew me to you. I was like, oh, it's another person who's like telling them like, hey, you got to take accountability here. It's not your fault, but you have to take accountability where it makes sense and like own your part of this because you're in the relationship. You have to own your part.
Exactly.
And know that you have choice in life. Yeah.
It's like one of my major frameworks is own your shit. Like know whose shit is whose, but own your fucking shit. Like we all have shit and it's okay that we have it. But you know, one of the first things I have to do is like look at that fucking growth versus fixed mindset stuff, because as soon as and if anyone's listening here, by the way, just go and look up growth versus fixed mindset and realize you're probably in a fixed mindset within your relationship where it's like we feel that we're in a state. Like if somebody tells us something bad about ourselves, we feel like we're stuck in that state forever. And like, I can't fix this. And it's like, no, like you keep moving through that by failing repeatedly. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad person if you're failing in your marriage. It means you haven't done the work enough, which you can keep moving through. It's actually a wonderful thing. Like anything wrong is a good thing. It's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
An opportunity for growth.
Yeah, 100%. Because you don't want to stay, if you want to stay where you are, you keep doing the same things. You keep thinking the same things, behaving the same way, right? You'll just keep getting exactly what you have right now. And that would be probably one of the biggest takeaways of this podcast is knowing that a bad answer, an answer that feels triggering that you get from your partner, it does not mean you're bad or doesn't mean it's bad. You know, it just means, wow, there's new information. It's now being presented to me. It's no longer hiding. It's out there. And that's always a good thing to put it out there because that allows you to make a next clearer choice from where you want to go now.
And, and don't listen to your programming, which is from your parents even, because I'm just like, I know this might open up a new thing, but just hearing you say that, it's like when there's that idea of a bad situation, you might instantly go, oh, but because it's bad. Look, it might be when you were a kid, if something went wrong, your parents had fucking stress and everything went wrong and you felt like you weren't safe. Right? And so now, as soon as something bad happens or new information happens, you reject it, you push it away, you don't want it. Become conscious about this, because becoming conscious means, oh, okay, like I don't have to run by the scripts of the past or the scripts of society. You can make your own fucking pathway. But yeah.
100%. You always have choice.
Always have a choice. It's been a wonderful podcast, Stephanie. I'm going to put all the links for you down below. I really appreciated you coming on board today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. I appreciate you, having me here and doing it last minute too when you weren't expecting. Like, oh wow, cool.
Yeah, for everyone out here, we literally were going to have our meet and greet today, and I was like, shit, I'm having a baby. Well, my wife's having a baby within a couple of weeks, so let's do it now. All right, thank you so much, Stephanie.
It happened.
That's the episode. That's all I got for you today. I just want you to remember you're not alone in this. Make sure you subscribe to stay connected, of course, and comment your win, because every time a man sees other men winning, they don't feel alone anymore, and I love that. Tools are in the show notes, starting with the Better Husband in 2-minute emails. Let's build this together. I'll see you next week.